Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about episode 50, The Endless Burrows.
Yes.
While I was setting everything up for tonight, you asked me if I thought it was a weird episode. And my answer is yes.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah.
You asked me if I thought it was because Ashley might be coming back.
Well,
the break.
The break, yeah. They're taking off the 7th, but they're going to be there on the 14th, you know. Yeah. And, you know, they're going to film on Valentine's, which, I mean, I think they did that last year, too, filmed on Valentine's, but they didn't take the break the week before.
Yeah.
It just seemed like if they were going to take a break, it would be then. But we were talking, and I'm not 100% sure because I can't find like a filming schedule online, but I believe because Blind Spot usually ends their season beginning of March, which means they should be wrapping up filming pretty soon.
Yeah.
Which means that could be just the break for Ashley to get back to be there when they get into.
Well, and to ensure that Ashley has a week off.
Yeah.
Is also a possibility. Like they could be ending this week.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
They just want to give her a week.
Last time when she was
a little frazzled.
Well, one of the last times that she was in town in LA, like she was there on a Thursday, but she didn't. The last time I said, it's because she's going to be there. She wasn't there. She was in town, but because of just the work overload, she needed just the time for her and Brian and to hang out.
Yeah.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah. And I made the joke that this was sort of a filler episode.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider that on the way to Felderwin, he largely glossed over that trip.
Yeah. And
he made the comment in that episode, well, you guys are at the level now that traveling isn't a danger anymore. Right. Like, there's just so many, like, they have so many tools in their toolbox that random encounters aren't going to be a thing.
Right.
Because anything that would challenge them would wipe out a town.
Yeah.
But on this one, he was day by day.
Yeah.
On this one.
Well, the challenges also tend to go up when you start headed towards the Underdark, too.
Yeah, which we covered last.
Yeah.
So, I was sort of right off the bat, and I didn't realize, like watching it live, I didn't realize it. And watching it live, I actually fell asleep at the break and woke up after Chris had already come and gone.
Yeah.
And on my rewatch, I was like, oh, okay. No, there are subtle hints in the cast's behaviors that I kind of wonder if they were afraid that Matt had to show his DM cred and chance a TPK because Chris was in the house. Because the whole episode, from the very beginning, even before the credits, technically.
Yeah.
Because the first big laugh of the episode right off the bat is Laura holding back on her cuss word, whatever it was, which made everybody laugh. So right off the bat, they're non-committal. And in character, they're like, do we really want to be doing this? And they're basically going over all the reasons why they shouldn't be going down this tunnel. And Sam, as Not, was like, we just spent 3 months digging into your backstory.
Yeah.
You know, we can't do this. And after the break is when they really started talking about TPK.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that was Perkins' influence on the mood of the evening.
Okay.
And unlike last time, when he played a Goliath who wanted to die, he played a kobold, and immediately got himself killed.
Yeah, and
basically immediately.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is he wasn't playing a character. He was playing a stat block. I'm pretty sure, even down to the hit points, that was the Kobold Inventor.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And he was just playing the stat block, so it wasn't like, hey, guest appearance, which almost makes me wonder, because they were like, oh, you said he was just here to watch and stuff.
Yeah.
If maybe at the break he was like, hey, do you want to jump in? They're going to be playing kobolds. You can, if it was really a last minute thing.
I don't think it was. Chris is... He took a step back from acting.
Okay.
Because he, at least from what I've seen in interviews that he's given, the performance aspect is not something that he's big on.
Okay.
He still does dice camera action, and that's basically it.
Okay.
And he's cut back on his convention going, and maybe that's just also for his workload, because they sort of reshuffled everything this last year,
right,
at Wizards and D&D. So maybe he just decided, I can't be doing all this stuff and my executive job.
Maybe.
So I don't think he was in town to appear on Critical Role.
Right.
He was in town doing something else. But I think he went there, and he and Matt told the cast that he wasn't going to be playing a character, or that he wasn't going to be appearing. And I think that got them worried, maybe. Which also, I think why I say the DM cred might have been on the line for the players. Because if Chris is here, and he's not going to play, why is he here? And if he's just going to watch, how is that going to affect Matt's DMing? Like, is that going to not ratchet it up? Like, Matt doesn't tend to throw the book at them when they have guest stars.
Right.
The exception, of course, being the episode Molotov. But they sort of got themselves into that situation.
Right.
But, yeah. Which is also why I sort of picked Perkins as my MVP.
Okay.
As the odd pick. And a break from choosing Laura. Because she was also on fire this episode. Although I think my second pick after Perkins would probably be Taliesin.
Okay. That's who I would have gone with, is Taliesin.
Yeah. But yeah, but not in Ford having the reversal, I thought was funny. When they were doing the whole, these are all the reasons why we shouldn't be going, and not just said, we did your whole backstory.
Right.
And then she
a place with orbs and eyes that you can just consume.
Yeah.
Pulled the whole button factory on him.
Yeah.
I did like that.
We had a return of the buddy system, sort of. And oddly, even though she called Caleb, didn't go with Caleb.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. We almost had a Yabo moment. And I'm kind of glad that Not went with Bo and they put Yasha in the back, because I think if we're going to get any more Yabo,
Ashley needs to be there for it.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I caught on my first viewing, but didn't actually hear the exchange, was a funny thing between Bo and Caduceus.
Okay.
And when they were talking about using polymorph as their tactic.
Oh, okay.
And they're throwing animals at Jester to turn this worm into. And someone mentioned sheep. And Marisha says, yeah, they have square pupils. And Caduceus says, do they? I don't know if they do. And Matt picked up on it.
Okay.
He actually heard it, and he asked for a nature check.
Yeah.
And then Travis freaked out. He's like, what? Nature check? What for?
Yeah.
And then he rolled really badly, and Matt's like, yeah, you don't know. And Talos is like, well, I don't need a nature check to know.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought was funny. And then the other thing was on this, it would have been, I think it was the second or third day, that they were on the march. And Bo says, Caduceus, how deep underground do you think we are? I have no idea.
Yeah.
The one to ask is Caleb.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be Caleb. Anyway.
You would think, although there's not really anything like that indicates he would know that, though.
Yeah. But yeah, a reason why I joke it's a filler episode is because I think Matt wanted to sort of draw it out, in the sense that he wanted to cover the travel,
right,
and sort of force him to experience these long hours in the dark.
Yeah.
But I don't think he had everything necessarily prepared in the sense of how fast are you going, because he never asked that.
Yeah.
It was sort of implied they did a forced march, because Matt, on the second day, I believe it was, Matt says, you guys have been walking about 6-7 hours-ish. Do you want to stop?
Right.
And they said, no, we want to continue. But he didn't make a Constitution saving throw to save versus exhaustion for a forced march. I think he had all of the chambers planned out.
Okay.
And where they were. And because he was able to, the players, Travis, when they got the map out, like, well, we've gone about this far, well, there's a body of water. Like, you were from the above ground, sort of tell where they were, based on the chambers that they found, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, it was strange. And before they went in, he asked them if they were getting any provisions.
Right.
And they were like, well, no, we can just create them. Nobody spent a spell slot at any point. Nobody said they were. He didn't ask. It wasn't until the third day that Sam says, well, I assume these guys are creating food for us.
Right. Well, at the same time, nothing really happened those days.
No, they ran into the ropers.
Well, that's true. Other than that, though. But, I mean, most of the days that they were traveling was just that.
Yeah. And you can sort of retroactively consider that. But I think, well, again, this goes back to, I don't think it was survival stressors that Matt was trying to tell that story in the episode. And I think Liam was worried about that, because he said, I don't want to step on what you're trying to do here, but wouldn't I know what time of day it is? Yeah. Because Matt was trying to, the disorientation of no sunlight being underground and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think the survival aspect was part of it. And yeah, they probably would have had the spell slots. Unless something happened, maybe Matt would have said, well, which one of you was cast create food and water
Right.
today? Well, then you don't have that spell slot to cast that spell.
Yeah.
It didn't come up, and it's not a big deal. It's just, for me, if you're going to go through the trouble of doing day by day, and for one of the characters, time is of the essence, like for real. I think putting it out there, how fast are you traveling? Are you going to force march?
Right.
Ratchets up the tension a lot more.
Yeah.
Even putting aside spell slot use and creating the supplies side of it. And we know they're safe for a rest because Caleb can ritually cast via this tiny hut.
Right.
So
and the lawn.
Right. And now he's having Frumpkin watch outside the hut. So like the rest situation, they're fine, and take that as given. But keeping the time crunch on them, I think Matt not asking them that sort of took that off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right or wrong, good or bad. And I don't know if Matt wanted to stress that, or if he was more concerned. Well, the results say he was more concerned with divorcing them from the surface world.
Yeah.
And putting them in the mindset that it's dark and it's nothing. There's no horizon. There's nothing to look at.
Right.
There's just a dark tunnel.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Jester. Well, I meant to look in the DMG in the gemstones section as to whether or not those crystals have a value.
Oh, yeah.
My guess is probably 10 gold or less.
Yeah. Probably not a lot.
I think the quartz is on there at the 10 gold piece.
Okay.
Gem, which is essentially what those are.
Right.
And that's another thing that I don't think, like, Matt didn't put that geode as a gold mine for them. And I don't think he considered that until they asked. And then he tried to play it off as, it might be worth something to someone, but no, it's not going to be.
Right.
So they didn't start smashing it to bits.
Yeah.
Or just filling their pockets with the broken remains of what the worm left behind.
Right.
But yeah. Jester continuing to be the voice, the messenger. Touch base with Yusa.
Yeah.
Looking for permission, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Yeza twice. And I didn't think about it until after the second casting that it and it creates an interesting choice for Jester to do this from a resource management standpoint. It would probably be safer for Yeza if she casts Sending in the morning.
Yeah.
Because even though there's eternal night and the sun is blocked out over Gordranus,
right,
the elves are probably the drow are still gonna probably prefer to be nocturnal.
Right.
They're gonna be more active at night when they don't have to rely on the magic.
Right.
The magic just makes it possible for them to exist at all hours, to not be at a disadvantage. Right. But again, and that's why I say it creates an interesting resource management question. Is it worth that 4th level spell slot in the morning when they don't know what they're going to face during the day?
Right.
And that's a question they didn't have to ask themselves for the first level spell slot for Create Food and Water.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Another thing about Jester is that we see her in one of the caverns make it a shrine. And random place to make a shrine.
Yes, it is.
And I like it. And if she keeps doing this, like in random hard to reach places, and people find it, and it becomes like this urban legend, and people are looking for it, like all these different places.
Yes, I saw that aspect of it. But she's going to have to get more risky.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, that is a safe place to put that in.
Yeah. And
but
you think because of that, any kobolds are going to end up at TravelerCon? Just showing up. Traveler's the tits!
Yeah, possibly. Which begs the question, how many people might play kobolds?
Yeah.
Play a monstrous race hero, kobold, cleric, trickster, following the traveler.
Yep.
That's interesting to think about. But yes, that was, and yet another example of the cleric's clericing.
Yes.
Which I am enjoying the hell out of.
Yeah.
When they do that. And that get the fuck out of my temple was one of the power lines.
Yeah.
This episode. The other one for me being I lose all the close men in my life.
Yeah.
Which was almost a throwaway and was virtually talked over by half the cast when she said it. But it was one of my favorite lines of the night. Bo grabbing the tongue is actually a very effective survival tool. Tip: if you're ever attacked by a wild animal, grabbing the tongue and yanking can stop the attack. Yeah. And it turned into great goblin food porn.
Yes.
Now, on my first watch, my first watch when they came across the small tunnels, my first thought was goblins. And then when they mentioned kobold, small lizard, I was like, okay, no, kobolds, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Which means there might be a dragon in the area.
True. Yeah. My mind went straight to kobolds. Just because it was the Underdark, and I associate kobolds more with living in caverns and caves than goblins.
Fair.
In my brain, goblins are more
surface
nomadic
nuisance.
surface dwellers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way Matt has portrayed them in Exandria anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
it's probably because
I wouldn't have been
was on my head.
I wouldn't have been surprised if it had been goblins, but my brain went to kobolds just because the Underdark versus the surface is where I would differentiate those.
Yeah. This travel songs was another great Laura moment.
Yeah.
Only to be surpassed by Marisha reading and extemporaneously making up trashy romance novel
and
lines.
And I really liked that scene, not necessarily because of that, but it just showed the closeness and the friendship that Bo and Jester have been cultivating. Where she could tell that Bo was getting bored, and she's like, "Oh, this will cheer her up," this will.
Yeah.
and more of the clericing.
Yeah.
And she gets and just that kind of that insight that she saw and acted on. I enjoyed that scene for that reason.
Yeah. And I loved the time is Caleb.
Yeah.
And not getting pissed off with him.
Yeah.
Was interesting. And later when she's like, fuck you, and he did the callback to your people did this to me. I don't consider that moment in character.
No.
That was definitely table talk and joking about the fallout from talks and everything.
I think the fuck you was in character.
Yes.
And then it went immediately to out of character.
Yeah. One thing you said you didn't think would ever happen that happened this episode. Ford apologized.
Yeah. Yeah. I was...
Now, granted, you specifically said he would never apologize to Caleb.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to not either, but I almost think it's kind of... I think Travis is more conscious of how he's portraying Ford because of the backlash from the people who agree with me that he is becoming more and more evil, and he's trying to be like, okay, I can see why you guys think this. I didn't intend for this. Let me consciously dial it back and go the other way.
Yeah.
Which is completely believable. I have no problem with,
Yeah.
Good for him. I loved it,
Yeah.
And I think, and it can be, as far as in character, I think if I was in Ford's position and then realizing, oh, I just put this person who spent, the last 3-4 months helping me. In doing that, I put them through sheer hell.
Yeah.
Almost the worst hell I could put that individual through because of their circumstance without knowing it. I feel like a shitty person.
Yeah.
I can see that, and even if he intended to be evil, that would make you, if you have any form of conscience, that,
Yeah.
And yes, not all evil people lack a conscience.
Yeah. So, we get to the kobolds.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just talked about there. And again, a theater of the mind issue. There was a discrepancy between which tunnel they thought they were sending Pumpkin down.
Yes.
Which, when they realized it, and then was like, oh yeah, we're going to send him down that one. We also had more confirmation that Caleb's original cap was a female cap.
Yes.
And I think he had talked about that on Talks, but I don't think he had talked about it on the show.
Right. Yeah, because the real Frumpkin from his childhood was a female.
Yeah.
And that's where he was getting the confusion.
Yeah. But I loved when they asked Perkins, how old are you? 11 days old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how long do goblins live? 11 days.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the worst thing you've seen in your 11 days? My brother got eaten by a green slime. Like the one on your boat? Yeah, that exact one.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting to think about, especially if you consider that, like, the goblin inventor is 11 days old. And sort of to think about, yeah, it makes sense that an 11-day-year-old creature thinks that a scorpion on a stick is like the end-all be-all of weaponry.
And then skunk shit is good food.
Yeah. So, do you have a guess at how deep they were? Because I do.
Okay. I don't, have any, maybe half a mile. I don't know. You think they were deeper?
Oh, yeah.
How deep do you think they were?
About 7 miles.
Okay. Is there a reason for that?
Yes.
Okay.
If Matt described the tunnel as moving up and down, and then when they got after the kobolds, or leading to the kobold, he described it going down steadily.
Okay.
And at a more steeper incline than they had been going.
Okay.
My original thought was 1 to 2 miles.
Okay.
But if you figure a slope of 1/10,
mm-hmm.
they'd gone over 70 miles. So that could put them as deep as 7 miles.
Okay.
Which puts them in the realm of magma.
Okay, yeah. And also, yeah, that would make sense. And they could be doing that. They run into the kobolds because they were going under the dragon rather than through the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So my guess is around 7 miles.
Okay.
We will probably never know.
Probably not. Unless Matt shares that on Talks tonight, because it's him and Taliesin.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever going to ask that. I doubt that's going to be a question asked. But yeah, to have a fire giant fortress underground, that's where I figure it's going to be.
Yeah. And that was a pretty hefty battle, the fire giants, because one of those was a dreadnought, which I believe is a CR-12?
Between 12 and 14, yeah.
Yeah. The one with the 2 shields, you know.
Yeah.
And those things are brutal if you're near lava, because they can shove, you know, and shove a good distance.
And we saw that.
Yeah.
And there again was a miscommunication in the lead up to that execution, because they thought, well, when they talked about it, Knot was supposed to go first.
Yeah.
Out there invisibly. Because I think Travis knew that she was going to get caught.
Yeah.
Behind, like, on the wrong side of that. If she didn't go first.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Knot has the ring of water walking.
Yeah.
And was going to just walk across the lava. I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sad that she failed the jump check.
Yeah.
By 1. I think he rolled a 9.
I think so.
Yeah. And Travis lost his shit.
Well, Perkins gave him the lava damage.
Yeah. So, which Matt didn't have in campaign 1.
Right.
He just sort of pulled a number of dice out of his butt.
And it wasn't as bad as the actual lava damage.
Yes. But he did take Baxel Don's toes.
Yes.
Regrown through unconventional means in the campaign. Which is one of those things that, as a DM, you can... Mistake isn't the right word, but regret a call or a narration, and then allow the players to help you undo it.
Yeah.
So for campaign 1 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we lose too much time, because we're over halfway, let's talk about the level 8 additions. We know for sure 4 of them.
Yeah.
through showing the character sheets, through
the stat blocks that they show,
through comments in the
Yeah.
game. We know that Ford took a +2 to charisma because he's now got a 20.
Yep.
We know Jester took the +2 to wisdom because she's now got a 20 there.
Yep.
So she did not take the healer feat again,
No.
which we said she wouldn't. How many episodes before she asked about it?
I think that's over.
Near the beginning, she asked about it, and then forgot at level
And
4.
it's possible.
And shortly after that, she asked about it, and then forgot by level 8.
Yeah, it's possible that Clay took it.
It is possible. We're not sure
But-
what Clay took.
Most likely not, because he did Prayer of Healing instead of treating everybody with the healer's kit.
Yeah.
But it might be the case. He might be the case that he took the feat. He just doesn't have the equipment.
Right. Bo took a +2 to wisdom as well because she went from 16 to 18, which upped her AC, which also gave her that 15 DC for her monk abilities.
Yep.
Not took squat nimbleness. We know this because he meant his dex went up. Dex goes up 1 with that. And then because he said now after the feat, he goes now. At first I thought he upped his dex because he goes now my AC is higher. But then later on we learned that he's got a 35-foot movement, and Matt mistakenly says from the halfling feat you took.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? And it's
A small race.
it's a dwarf or any small race can take it.
Yeah.
So, which I mean, given what we know of her backstory, I wouldn't be as a GM, I wouldn't be opposed to letting her take halfling feats.
I would. She's not a halfling.
True. Well, yeah.
But this does bring up an interesting point about what we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Does she regret going back when she does go back?
Yeah. It could be.
Because right now she's got the movement of a wood elf.
Yeah. And she'll drop to 5 feet.
Yep, just to 30.
Back
again.
to 30 again.
Yeah.
But yeah, she got that extra 5 feet. She gets advantage on athletics and acrobatics to break grapples.
Yep.
The ones that we weren't given definitive answers for were Caleb, Clay, and Yasha.
Which Yasha didn't level up.
How do you figure?
Because twice Travis said she's going to use her healing hands, and she healed for 7 hit points.
Okay.
Because her character on D&D Beyond is still 7th level because Ashley hasn't come back.
So, but they haven't updated the character, but Yasha is 8th level with the rest of them because they're doing milestones.
Yes. I'm not saying she's behind them. I'm saying the character sheet. Ashley has not made the choice for 8th level yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it wasn't updated on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
And my guess is Great Weapon Master. It's still...
Yeah, it still is the odds-on.
Yeah. Mobile would be an interesting choice for her.
Yes.
Especially since they always have her at the back.
Yeah. To just sprint up.
Yeah.
Because that would put her at 50 feet.
Yeah.
Savage
Attacker is another one. Potential.
Yeah.
Especially with the number of D6s that she's rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Savage Attacker becomes much more powerful.
Yeah. Clay, we know he had talked about Spell Sniper, but that's when he thought he extended all his spells ranges. But said he would change that, so we don't know what he took.
Yeah, and he definitely took a feat.
Yeah.
Well,
he said
I'm confident enough to say that he definitely took a feat.
I am too, because he has said that he's not going to mess with the stats really.
Yeah. And he already has his 20.
Right. And I assume that Caleb took a feat as well.
Yeah.
Because he has that 20, unless he upped his dex.
Yeah.
For the AC, but I don't think he did. I don't think he would.
No, I think he's gonna go Warcaster or possibly Spell Sniper.
Possibly Elemental Adept.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I could see that.
So just get that.
Yeah.
Um,
To further reinforce mechanically what Caleb doesn't want to do.
what Caleb doesn't want to do, but what he was trained.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That throwback to I used to be an evocation wizard, but
I can definitely see Liam choosing that for that reason.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Does it, I gotta say, I loved. Well, here's something I wish we had.
Okay.
The players' prepared spell list.
Yeah.
Because
that would be interesting.
like the clerics can choose from anyone plus their domains. And I think the players have settled into a standard array of what they're going to go for. And I think the Roper battle was a good example of that.
Yeah.
Caleb cast Slow, Caduceus cast Bane, and new spell from Jester, Banishment.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be in her toolbox almost all the time.
Yeah.
So they're starting to get into a space where they're comboing off each other more, and they're getting to the really good spells.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just watching the episode, I found myself, especially when you're talking multiple days, and I could see them, the three of them, Liam, Laura, and Taliesin, sort of doing this on D&D Beyond on the tablets, and and there was a moment where I was like, oh, I wish I could see what they're choosing for today. Because Liam in the Roper fight said I cast magic missile, and then he had to retcon. He's like, nope, I don't have that prepared today. And I think that was the moment when I was like, what do you have prepared? I want to know what you have prepared.
Right. Yeah.
And well, hope maybe that will be a question that's asked today on Talks, because it hasn't been, which is how do you choose what you prepare for that day?
Yeah, that would be a good one. I would like to know their answers to that.
Yeah, because and almost the wizard is a more difficult choice matrix, I think, in some ways, than the cleric, because the cleric, most clerics get their choice of spells that they like.
Yeah,
they fall into this array, and it's because they found the position in the group, and cleric very much tends toward a playstyle, or at least I've found that people fall into a playstyle, and the playstyle generally will inform spell choice.
Right.
Where wizards, the two choices they make every level to add to their spell book are going to be playstyle related.
Right.
The stuff they find along the way may not be.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting and more difficult choice for the player because so much depends on what do I think I'm going to run into today.
Yeah.
And choosing based on that. Which also makes me wonder if Caleb is going to turn Caduceus into a gold sink eventually for divination to try to get an idea of what are we going to face today, or tomorrow. Because if the wizard can ask a cleric that, then the wizard can go, oh, okay, then I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this.
It's also it's an interesting idea for a cleric wizard multi-class.
Yeah.
It just tying up in whatever cleric, and it could be the Arcana cleric, multi-class to wizard, so that you
would you go divination wizard?
You could
to reinforce the flavoring.
Yeah.
Arcane cleric, divination wizard.
Yeah.
That way you'd have portend and yeah. Do you think? Well, okay. So I've mentioned cloakers that I expected to see.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we saw one?
I do. Yeah.
Because
when he was describing that, I was like,
along the ceiling.
I was like, Dan was right. This thing's gonna drop on them, and then it never did.
Yeah. Which actually gave me that scene actually gave me a really cool idea, a fun idea to do with Liamid's tiny hut, which is the party all goes to sleep because they know they're safe, and they wake up in the morning and there's just some monstrosity just looking at them, like it's looking at, like just imagine waking up and there's a dragon sitting outside your Liamid's tiny hut waiting for it to collapse.
That's when I would expend a spell slot and recast it right away. Nope. That's
not
a big
today.
Nope. With a side of nope.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And another thing for Laura, being on point this episode, she was like, the giants probably weren't here before they carved through this.
Yeah.
Also, giants are huge. Fire giants. 3x3 base. The bridge was 10 feet wide.
Yep.
As wide as the worm.
Yeah.
I'm thinking one of those drow had stone shape. Or something of the equivalent thereof.
Yeah.
And I don't. Okay, so.
I mean, just a clerical law.
Yeah. In our campaign has sort of come to a close, and we're debating what to do next. And I have a world based on Dune and Warhammer 40k. And I was telling one of my players about it on the drive home. So I was watching Dune, the miniseries today.
Okay.
And the worm traveling through the tunnel, even before this, but like now I'm like convinced, like my headcanon is these drow were riding this worm like the Fremen in Dune.
Okay. I like that.
And I kind of hope we see whatever control mechanism they were using. Mostly because I want it to be the hooks.
Yeah. Which I could see there's a lot of hooked chains in the symbol of the Spider Queen for Exandria in her holy symbol.
I hadn't thought of that. All right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, the whole border of the holy symbol is chained with hooks. And...
Yeah. Okay, hooked chains. Yep. Done.
It's headcanon.
Yep. Okay. So, looking forward, I think it's a quick trip to the surface.
Okay.
On the 14th. Because I don't. It might only be 2 days in the Underdark. Because looking at the map, another day of travel gets them beyond the mountains. That's the border between the Empire and Xhorhas. So I think it's going to be going up.
Okay.
And then they'll be above ground. Or it will go up, and they will come to an underground Drow city.
Okay.
Which will then quickly lead to the surface.
Yeah.
Unless Matt is going to somehow... Well, he doesn't have to retcon anything, because all we've heard of Yez's journey is that 2 weeks after they took him, the first time Jester sent the sending, it was dark.
Yeah.
And he couldn't speak. He had to be quiet.
Right.
We took that to mean that they were traveling through dangerous territory. Potentially.
Yeah.
In the Underdark. It could have just been, it's dark outside. Or I'm in a room with no windows.
Yeah.
He could have already been at Gordranus. Or at some point before Gordranus.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will be seeing that point. If it was before a point before Gordranus, I think we'll see that on the 14th.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're going to see our first Drow. Okay, I'm going to say something crazy, and I'm probably going to be wrong. But if I'm not wrong, I want to have said it, so that I can later claim that I was right.
Okay.
And that, I think we're going to run into Myconids.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's going to be before Gordranus or before whatever next settlement they're going to hit.
Right.
I don't know if it will be before that or after that. And it all depends on whether Matt wants to subvert their expectations of everything down here wants to kill you, or he needed to build in a rest point.
Yeah.
After the Drow, the first Drow settlement they come in.
Right. Okay, I can see that.
From a mechanic standpoint, from a pacing standpoint, it makes sense to do it after. I also think we're going to see, well, if the players play it right, we will see more peaceable sections of the society.
Yeah.
Where they will be able to find allies if they look.
Yes.
Because the Drow like slaves. So it's also a question of how quickly do they adopt the slave collar and attitude.
Yeah.
This one I'm sure of.
Okay.
It's not crazy at all. Jester takes on the guise of a female Drow.
Oh, yeah.
And probably mistakenly, in the worst way, Priestess of Lolth.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's gonna bite her. It will be funnier if Ford takes on the guise of a male drow. But he might also take on the guise of a female drow.
I was going to say, what would be great if he pulled a Bugs Bunny and did it if we became a female drow.
Yeah.
Of course, we've got not Caleb and Caduceus, who could also take the form of various drow.
Well, not, I think, might go Smurfeblin.
Okay. That would, yeah.
Or Durgar. That's an interesting possibility for Caduceus. They enlarge Durgar.
Yeah. And they could just, do the whole Star Wars thing and pretend Bo is their captive. She could be the Wookiee. She seems like the type that would rip your arms off for losing.
Well, and she even has Chewbacca's, distaste for the cuffs.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Yeah. And then Caleb has to cast suggestion on her.
That would be amazing.
Right? No.
Well, okay. The only problem with that is Bo's at a level where if she's charmed in any way, suggestion, charm person, command, she has stillness of mind. She can use her action to end that.
Still makes an interesting scene.
Yeah. She'd be like, oh yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah, so them getting through. See, yeah, and they've been, this episode especially, they were heavy into, we're going to have to fight a whole army.
Yeah.
Not thinking infiltration is an option.
Yeah.
Which is funny because when they came across their first large group of an army, they went the diplomacy route / ham-fisted attempt at infiltration when Jester transformed herself into a giant kobold.
Yes.
Which is to say, a weird dragonborn.
Or lizard folk, yeah.
Yeah.
An anorexic dragonborn. Here's a question. If they do go infiltration and they're sneaking in and trying to sneak out with Yeza, does Jester polymorph Yeza? Goblin or Svernevlin? It's
Possibly.
only permanent if she can concentrate for the full hour.
No, true polymorph is 24 hours concentration.
Okay.
For permanence. Polymorph's only an hour.
Right. That's right.
Which is why I don't think she will. I think the simpler solution is invisibility from not.
Okay.
Or Jester, because I think Jester gets it as a domain spell.
Yeah, it's a trickster domain spell.
Yeah. And she has the higher level spell slots that she can cast it on multiple people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I think infiltration is what we're gonna see.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's about all the time we have for this week.
Yeah.
We also will be taking next Tuesday off, I think.
Yes.
Or if we are doing something, it might be. We were talking about character classes tonight. Maybe if we want, we can.
Yeah, we may
do a character build, class build.
We can. We'll follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll put
and here.
In here, yeah, and we'll let you know.
Yep. So until next week. Well, 2 weeks from now.
See you guys.
See you guys.